allegiance, carrying on the ancestral business, as it were, brings seminal years. I'll be right behind you, Master. I forgot to retrieve the map from the ship. Don't be so careless, Darth Plagueis. I won't.
Now, we're going to talk about this sort of, do I dare say it's a rivalry, or do I say it's a clash of ideas? Let me talk about my perspective of Star Wars before we get into this Plagueis versus Plagueis, one from creator Everest Productions versus Star Wars Chronicles. When I was a lad, maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, these are the first times I ever knew what Star Wars was. I can remember brief images of Luke swinging Leia across the chasm of the Death Star. Just that was what I remembered. There was an old George Burns movie that had like Star Wars in it, like a Star Wars birthday party for like an autistic grandson. This is the pop-up book of Return of the Jedi. And these are audio tapes, listen and read and listen, right? And there was one about Han Solo and Chewie putting things together with shapes and colors, like a red circle or a green triangle or a blue square or a purple rectangle. I remember that stuff. It was so long ago. My parents got me Kenner re-releases of figures from the original trilogy. That was like maybe 1985, 1984, LA Olympics. I would remember the Ewoks and Droids cartoons on ABC. You had to watch Droids at 7 in the morning and 7:30 for Ewoks. Or was it 7:30 for Droids? Well, Droids was before Ewoks, okay? So you would have to get up really early to watch both cartoons. They had the Ewoks movies. My parents had the CBS Fox, or like full screen versions of the movies, and then the widescreen with the THX enhancements came in the 90s. And it wasn't until maybe 1997, like when I was starting 2-year college, junior college, that I watched those 3 movies: Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, to understand the plot. I didn't read the Dark Horse comics till later. That was with the Purge. That was after Revenge of the Sith and Cade Skywalker, Anya Solo. So I got into the prequels, I would say, when the DVD versions of DVDs came out. Phantom Menace DVDs, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. I got into the Clone Wars, both Tartakovsky and Dave Filoni. Then Disney bought Star Wars, and we're off to the races. And here we are with whatever Disney came out with. We have fan films of all kinds. Now, what you see at the bottom left of Everest Productions' thumbnail, this is for Darth Plagueis Episode 1. This won the 2024 Best Animated Fan Film. So Duncan Bruce, if that is Everest's real name, so he got the MVP award, and it was the best fan film for Star Wars. There were other kinds of fan films. I think Batman, what is it, Harvest Moon? Batman Harvest Moon was the most canon. There's different ones. Spider-Man Unlimited Requiem, I think, or whatever, not Requiem. Spider-Man Unlimited, some sort of Spider-Man movie got some awards too. There were all kinds of awards for director's choice. So they show the 2024 picks in 2025. So I had to do a little bit of research into what this all was. You know, I was a college student for many years. It's the college student in me to do this kind of thing. I must. So I think congratulations to Everest, to Duncan. He worked very hard and he earned this. Let me talk about this, and then I'm going to talk about Chronicles, and we'll go from there, okay? Now, I will not, and I do not regret praising the revitalized Skywalker movies. So that means no Force Awakens, but I will praise The Last Jedi. and I will praise The Rise of Skywalker, even though I thought the ending was a little bit abrupt. But I've already said all those things. Some of the bits to the lead ups to Heir of the Empire were very good. You had Hera Syndulla, you had Kyle Katarn. So I could tell that the common denominator that Chronicles and Everest have is that they take bits and pieces of Disney canon and mix it in with EU Dark Horse or novel canon and come up with something. Okay. So that's they have their own styles. Now, I'll throw, I'll roast the graphics for the early stuff. A lot of the graphics look like PlayStation 2 graphics, but that's the stuff he's doing. Hand creating it CGI. That's the way that Duncan's doing it. He creates, whether it's Darth Plagueis, whether it's post Return of the Jedi revitalized or Heir to the Empire revitalized. He's doing it the best way he feels he needs to. Okay, he's approaching it the way he feels he should. Okay, so that's on his end. And like I said, I gave my scores. You can find my reviews. And he gave his scores to it, and I liked it. I liked what he had done. I do believe the only time the man ever commented or left a comment on any of my posts, it was to bash my review for Godzilla -1. Sorry, I mean, I do like the movie. I don't think it's a complete waste of time. You'll enjoy it. But I think I enjoyed King of the Monsters way more. There was so many cool things that were happening in King of the Monsters. It was an edge of the seat kind of movie. Whereas I thought -1, somehow the energy or something just wasn't there. And yes, Godzilla, Japan's perspective, they make great Godzilla movies. But something about King of the Monsters and talk about two different recent Godzilla movies, I'm more attached to King of the Monsters. This is just me. Everybody is different. We respect each other's opinions, but that's where we are. So now I'm going to go to Star Wars Chronicles, which I don't know his name. But Chronicles, he did sort of a Clone Wars style Heir to the Empire, like 3 movies, okay? And then at some point, I don't know what he had done, but unlike Everest Productions, he's using AI. Okay, I think according to Everest, it's AI, Photoshop. It's different techniques. Okay, but most people don't care how the sausage is made. The sausage is there. Now, I will say, I do notice there's like a different model of Darth Tenebra. He's much smaller when he's on the ground. I don't know what Everest was. I'm sorry. I don't know what Chronicles was doing, but the model was much smaller. I don't know if he was trying to create a new model or what had happened. But things happen. Okay. As far as comparing this to Dark Plagueis, as of right now, Everest Productions Dark Plagueis stuff is superior as far as content. If you want to see content, you will get content of Dark Plagueis media from Everest Productions. If the graphics are not as pretty, but you have a lot of content, and it's what you make of it. This is just one scene, and it does have a character in it that looks like she is from the Acolyte or from the High Republic era. I see what he's doing, and I do like what he's doing. And it would have been interesting to know what charges Higo Damask was wanted for. That would have been interesting to see, like, why is Higo Damask being hunted by Jedi? So, there's a lot of things. I mean, maybe she caught him killing somebody, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Why would Higo Damask, this great respected Mune, kill somebody unless he's a Sith or something else? So, she would have sensed his ability to use the dark side or the Force. So, for whatever reason, he kills her right at the end of this. So there's some differences. Obviously, the biggest difference is presentation and look. And also, I do agree with Everest in that the text runs pretty fast because there's not enough time to read the text. I've criticized other people like Holocron Archives with his Rakata Empire and other videos that the font is like it's like really really small and kind of bright and you can't read it easily. And not everybody's going to be able to watch it on a big TV. So that's where we're at with that. Now, why did I make this video was because I did watch the Wednesday stream. I watched it late. I didn't watch it when it was on. And this is just my perspective, okay? Because I could be a dummy. I could not know anything. I don't know what it means to make a Star Wars movie. I've made little bits of AI slop for a few seconds to watch, but I don't know what it's like to really make a Star Wars movie. I work on my own projects and I see what goes on and I do the best I can on my end for what I do, okay? That means public domain characters in the same universe. I will talk about that more later when we get to the end of Mickey's Medal. Don't forget, Mickey's in the public domain, as well as Minnie Mouse and Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So on Star Wars, Everest Productions watched this movie during a stream. And this could be me, but it felt like he hate watched it. I felt like he was hate watching it the whole time. I felt like he was just going to hate this movie before he even saw the first second of it. Now, he did give some nice critiques and said, okay, some things work and some things... It's not like he completely was being an asshole. But I felt like he hate watched it the whole time. And even Star Wars Chronicles pointed out he got a dislike. Now, as I said, I'm going to say this nicely. As far as content and things to watch, Everest Productions was just early, and he wanted to adapt the book that James Luceno made. Now, Chronicles had asked in his community posts, what would you like to see? And some people had brought up different things. What he wants to do is, and we're gonna talk about Heir to the Empire from Chronicles to kind of end this video, but he wants to mix the Acolyte elements of the Acolyte, the Disney series, with the book, which I think is a fantastic idea. If you can do it, do it. If you can't do it, don't do it. But I see what he's doing, and I'm okay with that. Okay? Because I have the book. I have the original book by James Luceno, the first printing, on my shelf as I'm looking to my left. And I have Star Wars Insider number 150 with the Tenebra Way that was written by Matthew Stover. And I have those two things with the first appearance of what Plagueis looked like and what Tenebra looked like. That's on my shelf, okay? So I have those on my shelf. So I had told, because he had asked in his community post, what would you like to see? I told Chronicles, I like to see Qui-Gon and Plagueis, because what James Luceno wanted to do, and the reason why he had to rewrite most of his book to put it out for publishing, he wanted to show the parallels between Darth Plagueis and Qui-Gon Jinn as the immortality of the Jedi and the Sith, the Force, midichlorians. What does it all mean? And it probably had to do with the wills and maybe the Mortis ghosts, whatever it would have been. The problem was that Lucas Books was like against that idea. And it might have been because of episodes 7, 8, and 9, which focused heavily on that. And I think George Lucas had plans. I can still remember Rick McCallum sitting at a behind-the-scenes kind of dining area, talking to IGN about Underworld and Star Wars Detours. And we said, we need to get the money to go and make Underworld. And it was like, I thought these guys had unlimited power, unlimited money. So they ended up having to go to Disney and selling to Disney. So that was that. So there were a lot of ideas that James Luceno wanted to do, but George Lucas indirectly said, no, you can't do that. You gotta. So, but the one thing he did get to do was he had asked them, and I listened to his interview. He had said, can I end the book as a parallel to the Phantom Menace? They took a moment and they said, okay, you can. Okay. So Star Wars Chronicles, I barely got to know, along with Holocron Archives and Beggar's Canyon, and there's another dude. I think Bruce. Bruce is the one that made the fan film for Empire Strikes Back that had tertiary or fourth-rate characters, as though they were doing like a real fan film with whatever people you could find, right? So and then there was the fan film with Cade Skywalker and Asajj Ventress, and you've seen my videos. If you go to my community posts, you will see my choices for good AI Star Wars fan films. And I did put this one up. Do I think it's a bit clumsy? Yes, I do agree with some of Everest Productions' critiques. I do think it's a bit clumsy. I like the look of it. I like the sounds of it. I like that Plagueis' voice is not as pronounced as it is in Everest. I think that if he was trying to make this model, if Chronicles was trying to make this model to make it more realistic, and that's why he had a shorter Biff. Okay, okay. If that's why you did that, I can understand that, but you got to double check your work. So there's some clumsiness, but I like the look and the feel of Baldemic. I like the look and the feel. It's an adaptation. Okay? It's an adaptation, Duncan. It's an adaptation of the book. And mostly because Pablo Hidalgo had taken it out of canon. And even Chronicles himself said that he would not do exactly what Everest did or is doing, which is finishing the book and making it exactly from the book, which is fine. That should be done that way. Let the fans decide what is canon, what is not. The fans will ultimately decide. I will not decide. I don't feel like I'm in the heart of the Star Wars fans. I think they should decide for themselves. Okay. So I've talked about the fan films, and right now, Star Wars Chronicles is known not for this, but for Heir to the Empire and the post Return of the Jedi. Okay. So Luke Skywalker, after Return of the Jedi, what happens? What does he do? Does he go to Coruscant? Does he go traveling on other planets? Does he go to Bespin for a drink? Oh yeah, there's a deleted scene or like a simulated deleted scene from, what is it, Hyperspace Stories, that you could look for that too on my community posts. But Luke Skywalker meets Ahsoka, and they go on an adventure with Hu Yang from the Old Republic and from the Clone Wars. And they go off on a journey to get a seed that will plant a tree powerful in the Force, similar to the tree on Coruscant, where Yoda talks to the Jedi at the end of season 6 of Clone Wars. And what Yoda sees in his his hallucinations, looking at Count Dooku, talking to the wills, the emotions, the living emotions. So Luke Skywalker meets a lot of different people. HK-47. There's a lot of just different cameos. Some with Wedge Antilles, Chewbacca, the Wookiee from the Clone Wars. I think Tucci or whatever his name was, the Wookiee Jedi that had the Force. And there's a lot going on. And eventually we get to Mara Jade and Card, I think his name is, right? The guy trying to take over Jabba the Hutt. I would think Rada the Hutt would become a crucial thing, but we don't know. So, I mean, I would think Rada the Hutt would have taken over Jabba the Hutt, but Jabba the Hutt's not there. For some reason, Rada's not there. So, I don't know if he's going to address that, but we do have a new take on Mara Jade. We have a new take on Card. We have a new take, Hera Syndulla, just like in Everest Productions' take on revitalizing Heir to the Empire. We do have Hera Syndulla there. We got Admiral Akbar. We got Mon Mothma. We got the three back together, Luke, Han, and Leia. So things are kind of going in a nice cinematic way. And I will say that the best work that Star Wars Chronicles is coming up with is Heir to the Empire. Now, as somebody pointed out, people are hating on AI with extreme prejudice. Whether you're using action figures or pop-up books or hand drawings or color pencils or cell on painting on a cell or computer graphics using Cinema 4D XL or Maya, or you're using watercolor or statues or animatronic puppets or the Etch a Sketch Animator 2000. You're making a fan film with the likenesses of the characters, and you're telling a story. And I'm going to praise this work because right now, I mean, as far as the polish and the look and the feel, I feel like the presentation feels better than what Everest Production has. But Everest Productions has way more content to look at so that you can look at the character, you can see more of Plagueis. But polish and presentation may not mean much. But I'm going to say, as far as that goes, I like what is being done here. It's a different take. It's an alternative take. And I feel there are no real wrong answers. So I just felt like Everest, Duncan was like disrespecting this at prejudice and all throughout. And you can not like something. It is okay to not like something. But I felt like in a way it was unprofessional. We are creators. As a collective, we are Star Wars creators. We're not politicians. We're not religious leaders at odds and ends with what's with your Judaism? It's not the rabbi versus the Pope versus the Christian motivational speaker versus Gandhi and Buddhists. That's not what we're doing here. We're not trying to be at odds and ends. The minute we turn on each other and just disrespect each other, as long as you're not stealing work from one another. I know that Everest Productions had that. Good on him to go after people like that. As long as we're giving credit, just respect the work. Just respect the work. That's it. That's all you got to do. And I've been going at this for 22 minutes, but I had a lot to say. I think that I would like to see more of what Star Wars Chronicles is doing. Everest Productions, you got to finish your story. You got to finish it. But I believe he is finishing it right. And everybody's looking forward to seeing the ending. We all know how it ends. Obviously, Plagueis dies at the hands of Palpatine. And characters move on. Maul dies because it's the Phantom Menace. So I really am intrigued to see how Star Wars Chronicles is going to take this and obviously pay attention to the critiques given to you. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I gave you a thumbs up, and I'm gonna keep posting on my community posts which Star Wars fan films to look at. Okay, you got the Kate Skywalker Legacy, which is a tribute to the books. It's more like a 17-minute trailer. You got tertiary characters on Hoth. You got Baker's Canyon, the lead up to Shadows of the Empire. You got Heir to the Empire by Chronicles. You've got Holocron Archives with the Rakata Empire. You've got all kinds of content now. And the content that I've seen before was not great. It was just a lot of talking scenes to show off how realistic actors and characters look. Great. But now you got to make it a Star Wars, faster and more intense is what George Lucas would say. And I think that's one of the main reasons because Chronicles is paying attention to how would George Lucas do it? How would Dave Filoni do it? How would maybe Jon Favreau would do it? Basically, it's what if Kathleen Kennedy was never hired by George Lucas? What if Bob Iger was never still working there? The people that are in charge now of Disney have always been there since 2013, and we got the content that we would get if we saw Luke Skywalker, Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker. If we had gotten the story of Luke meeting Ahsoka for the first time. How would that look? What would that look like? And I think Chronicles is doing that. Fantastic work. Okay. So that's it. I'm not here to say people are dumb. I mean, Everest Productions is acting dumb, but he deserves the awards he got and he deserves the praise he got. But let's be professional. And that's all I'm going to say. That's it. That's all there is to it. One more video and I can fucking eat my midnight dinner.